For us, what drives that creativity is two things. Is it unexpected and is it funny?
I love your creative mantra. What's the dumbest thing we could possibly do?
Usually what is unexpected and funny is the dumbest thing that you can think of. And when we started Liquid Death, our mantra was, how can we win the internet for a day? And so that's how we came up with some crazy shit. And people see it and people remember it.
I'm here poolside at the Cannes Advertising Festival. And if there's one brand I've been desperate to decode, it's Liquid Death. But what looks like pure madness from the outside actually has a very deliberate system in the chaos underneath it. And that's what I want to unpack today with Liquid Death's Chief Media and Digital Commerce Officer, Benoit Vatere. What's working, what isn't, and what the rest of us can learn from how they do it. Let's get into it. Here's my refreshingly candid conversation with Benoit. Good morning, Benoit. How are you doing?
Good morning, Josh.
We are on the rooftop at Cannes. We're having a very Cannes moment already. I'm glad it's like 8 a.m. because it's going to get hot as anything. Cheers.
Cheers.
Here's to Liquid Death. Thank you for being on the pod. Welcome to Frontier CMO.
Thank you.
I'm going to try, this is a Liquid Death strawberry.
And I have orange.
Okay, honestly, that is better than I thought it was going to be. So
good.
Kudos.
I'm glad.
That's quite nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
That's our new one. And I think people like it.
You're meeting with a lot of your retail partners.
Yeah.
So Walmart's here. Now they have a media business as well.
Yeah.
Are most of these brands here through the lens of their media business? They are.
They are
Okay.
through their media business. It's big. It's growing fast for all of them.
Right.
They're, all those retailers are selling in store, but digital penetration that they call selling through that.com is getting really big, which is obviously growth happened through media. So they have a massive media business and their media business are here.
Okay. What does that mean for someone who sells products into those stores? And there's always been a suspicion that you sort of, throw us some media dollars and we'll give you more shelf space. Is that actually true?
It used to be that. It's not that anymore.
Okay.
You gain shelf space by selling product, not by spending dollars. Now, does that help their margin? Yes. But actually, it's growing right now because it's efficient. Like, as I spend dollars, that helps me to drive sales. And their products are getting a lot more mature. The tech is getting really good. So it helps us grow.
Okay. That's a good thing. So talking about growth, you're a challenger brand, Liquid Death.
Yeah.
You established in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
One of the talking stories of the marketing industry for the last 5 years has been what you have done with creativity. It's what you've done to really break through and grow this brand.
Mm-hmm.
I love the phrase that your sort of creative mantra is like, what's the dumbest thing we could possibly do? I was just wondering, could you explain for the audience, what does that mean? What is the dumbest thing you could possibly do is your driving force?
For us, what drives that creativity is two things. Is it unexpected and is it funny? And usually what is unexpected and funny is the dumbest thing that you can think of, right? And also you're living in this world of social media where people are scrolling all the time. You need to stand out. And when we started Liquid Death, Mike, our CEO, his mantra was, how can we win the internet for a day? So when we were in the room thinking about what we can come up as an idea is that how, as we show that, because we are born through social media, how can we drop something that everybody is going to talk about for the day? And so through those different lenses, that's how we came up with some crazy shit. And people see it and people remember it.
So for the non-Americans in the audience, let me say my favorite thing that you did. And
Okay.
it was a small thing, but I laughed my ass off, right? And,
Okay.
and then I want to hear a couple of your favorites. So my favorite thing was someone posted on, I think it was Twitter, and basically said, regarding Liquid Death, I would rather lick the sweat off a man, or worse that effect, than a drink of Liquid Death. And so you guys arranged for I'll say, rotund gentleman to go in the gym and then have someone lick the sweat off his back. And it was funny as F.
We did. That was a good one. He got a lot of attention. He got a lot of virality. That's an example. How can we marry the water with something funny, dumb that people will remember? That was one. We did a lot of crazy stuff. Since we are this challenging brand, I love to go after the big guys. About a year ago, our biggest competitor in tea is Arizona. And we're like, how can we really bother them? And we found this little town in Nebraska called Arizona. And we reached out to them and we became their official sponsor. So now we run a campaign about being the official sponsor of Arizona. And that was fun because we showed up in this like 500 people town in Nebraska and started recording crazy stuff with like chainsaw cutting cans. I mean, it was crazy and he did the trick. People really remembered it. And that was a lot of fun to do.
So it feels like you have the dream brief. Just do epic shit.
Exactly.
Do epic stuff.
We do not have briefs. We do not write briefs.
Okay.
But that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Explain the creative process, because
Yes.
let me just give the context here. Through my entire career as a marketer, I've worked with many hundreds of brands, and we all believe that we're creative, but somehow the system, the process, the bureaucracy prevents us from taking big swings. And here you are, Liquid Death, big swing after big swing after big swing. We all want that, but you make it happen. So yeah, help the audience understand, how do you make these big swings happen? What are the different elements? What is the process inside of Liquid Death?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting process. Comes from Mike, obviously. He's the brain behind that brand.
So Mike
Cesario, the CEO and founder, is a creative genius. His thought is marketers are the least creative people on earth. So we should not have marketers doing creatives. You start with that. Then for us, we pick our lane, which was being funny, comedy. Comedy is very difficult to do. But for him, the perfect setup was for when you look at SNL skits. And the setup for us is exactly the same. We have a boardroom in LA in our HQ where we show up on every Thursday for 4 hours, no phones, just a room with him, with me, with the creative team. But the creative team is made of producers and made of comedians.
Right.
There are no marketers. There are no agencies. There is nobody besides us. And that's how we create. And he creates by coming up with ideas. It's like a writer's room. We're just like throwing ideas, look at ideas that we came up with like 3 months ago, see if they may be relevant now, and we start going at it. And that's how we create. There is no brief, there is no agency involved.
I have so many thoughts and directions I want to take this, but let's just ask, one of the great advantages of agencies is an outside-in perspective. You're in this room, you're getting your pitches, you're doing for 4 hours every Thursday. How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it engaging? How do you actually make sure you're not just inside your own bubble, laughing at your own jokes?
That's very true, and that's a problem though. I was talking actually about that with Mike like a couple of weeks ago. Because the idea may be funny when we talk about it, but then when you record it, when you shoot it with the cameras on, it's not that funny, but we think it's funny. So the big thing is obviously to show it to the rest of the world, to see if it's funny, but it's also to have people that have been really good at producing funny content before. Because again, being funny is very difficult. It's not just the script, but it's the execution with the camera. So we try to bring people that are really good at this as well, that are true comedy producers.
Right. So you pitch these ideas, you're in the room, someone comes in with an idea, and I'm just going to make something up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sitting here. We're going to get a donkey and we're going to airlift it onto the Arc de Triomphe in Paris for some reason to go with the new flavor of Liquid Death water, right?
Yeah.
Now, is that a funny idea? And where does the funny become like destructive and just like, we can't go there, or that's not good?
So there is nothing that we cannot go to besides politics and religion. We don't want to touch that.
Okay.
We're also being very thoughtful about the product. So it's not just being funny for the sake of being funny. It needs to be able to carry the product and the brand to get the awareness, not about what is this crazy brand, but to get awareness about this is a crazy brand with a really good product, and this product is tea, or this product is energy. So when the idea comes up, we challenge this idea with all of that, right? It was like, hey, what kind of RTBs for the product does it carry? What is the audience going to think? What is our audience for this product? And is the audience going to react to this? Is it relevant to a cultural moment? Is it going to be able to create something funny within the first 3 seconds? Because we're living in this world where if you're not funny within the first 3 seconds, it's never going to happen. So if you have to wait 30 seconds to start seeing the donkey on the top of the Arc de Triomphe, it's probably not going to work, right? So there's all those things all those filters that we go through from a product standpoint, but also from where the content is going to be, and be able to catch this attention to go back to, are we going to win the internet for the day or not?
Super fascinating. Has there been an idea in the last 6 months that got pitched which just crossed the line and you thought, we can't do that? Not because of religion or politics, just because there was something about it which didn't quite work, and you can talk to that.
I can talk about one, but the challenging part for us as we get bigger, where it's very difficult to do what we want to do on the big stage. And the biggest stage that is for creativity and ads is the Super Bowl. We did the last 2 Super Bowls. And our last ad during the Super Bowl was about our energy drink. It was about cutting people head. Because energy drinks those days are so much caffeine that it just cuts your head off. So we are making fun of this. But now, to get in front of the NFL, to explain that concept, and to get them to agree to air that during the Super Bowl was extremely challenging.
So this is with the ad where the heads exploded?
Yeah, it exploded.
Yeah, just to be clear, that people drank bad energy drinks and their heads exploded.
Because too much caffeine. And the NFL's like, we want to see the final spot.
Yeah.
It's like, we cannot show you the final spot, because if we spend, I don't know, a lot of money to create, and then you say no. So how do we show boards to explain that we're going to explode heads, people are going to have head cut off, during the Super Bowl. That was extremely challenging. So we had to back off on a lot of things.
Okay.
And in order to get it approved and to be able to be on the main stage.
Yeah. Fake violence, no. Real violence on the field, all good.
Yes, you said it.
You've done a lot of interesting partnerships. So
Mhm.
tell me about like Elf Beauty and,
Yes.
and some of these other ones. And what's the connection to the product there?
Yeah, so for us, it's the audience. The connection is the audience, and the other connection is the unexpected. Would you expect Liquid Death to be with the beauty products for teenagers? No. That's good. That's a win right there. Then obviously the other one is the audience. The audience are the moms and the kids are an audience that we need to get in front of, that we were not in front of. Partnering with them, now you get in front of them. So that's a perfect partnership. Anytime we think about a partnership, we think about audience extension.
So just explain what you did with Elf Beauty, because it was pretty fascinating.
The last one that we did lip balm in the flavors of the different Liquid Death water that we have.
Right.
And so those lip balms look like a Liquid Death can, sold on their website, sold at the retailers.
And sold out, right?
And sold out. We sold it out, I think, in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And it's amazing because, again, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. We won the internet, like for the day.
So you said the phrase several times, win the internet for the day. So let me give you a hypothetical scenario. You've got your big idea, you've got your big thing to win the internet for the day, and it flops, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean you need to bring up your next one much quicker? Like, what is the cycle for doing this? You're not doing a daily one, right?
No, we're not doing a daily one. Right now, we're probably putting campaigns, I would say, every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks.
But that means if something doesn't work, you're now 16 weeks between having your cultural moment. So has that happened?
It does happen. And some also are not always designed to win the internet for the day. Some are designed to work really well with media so we can get in front of people through media dollars.
Okay.
Because there's a problem with virality. We haven't touched on that yet. But we're at the stage where we went so viral over and over and over that we get the virality, who you get in front of is dictated by the algorithm. And most of the time, it's in front of the same people over and over. So yes, it's 10 million, 15 million, big virality, but it's the same 15 million, same 20 million compared to the 350 millions that we need to get in front of.
Right.
So we need to be able to create content that carries the brand, that we can put media dollars behind in order to get in front of the people that we want to. So there is those two buckets that we play with. Some campaigns are designed for virality. Some campaigns are designed really for the product and to get in front of the people that we want to get in front of. Now, to answer your question about what happens if it flops, well, it does flop sometimes. It means for us, flopping is probably good for others, right? But it's still not the level of virality that we would expect. Usually we bring media behind it in order to amplify the way we wanted to amplify it. But that still sends a signal to us around something was not right in the creative or something was wrong in terms of getting the attention, in terms of winning for the day. So that gets the creative team to get more feedback for the next one. What did we learn? And sometimes it's not even the creative. It's like, what was the thumbnail, right? Maybe people just didn't click on it or the first 2 seconds were not right. Like we start looking at this data. So we're very data driven, by the way. We test a lot of things. We look at a lot of data to understand what works, what doesn't work.
That makes sense. The thing that Liquid Death has done, which seems so impressive from the outside,
Mhm.
is you have translated engagement,
Mhm.
cultural cachet into sales.
Yep.
Right? And I guess the rest of us still think about, awareness, consideration, intent. We think about the full funnel. And
Mhm.
you somehow have jumped straight from cool stuff happens here, sales happen here. How are you actually working the system underneath to actually make the funnel work for you or break the funnel the way you've done so?
Compared to any challenging brand, we started with the top of the funnel. We started with the awareness. A lot of people that are talking full funnel are the people that have been established for 20 years, that have massive already audience, and they are thinking how to put that funnel together. As an emerging brand, usually you start thinking conversion first. You need sales. You need sales. For us, we started to think awareness first. So we built massive awareness, which was then a lot easier as a challenging brand to bring down the funnel. But we think about the funnel. I think about the funnel every single day. When people are telling me the funnel has collapsed, the funnel doesn't exist anymore, I call bullshit on this. This is not true. And we do it through tech. So my background is tech. I think we may talk about this at some point, but I have an ad tech background. So I think about the audience, and I think about the audience that get captured by winning the internet for the day. How do I retarget them down the funnel? How do I get them? I talked about earlier, I'm going to meet with Walmart, I'm going to meet with Target. How do I talk to those folks that they can get my audience? I can push through pipes my audience. So when they show up on their website, I can show them Liquid Death. So that I can turn awareness into sales. The second thing is also because our brand was getting a lot of awareness, the retailers want us on the shelf. And there is nothing better than shelf presence. When you're on the shelf, people see you. And then that turns into sales. So when you have massive awareness and you're on the shelf, suddenly the funnel start to exist. And because the brand was so powerful out there, the retailers wanted us on the shelf.
Having a cool thing is people want cool things themselves.
Correct.
The awareness was more important first and then the distribution?
Correct. Yes, it was. Because you cannot get distribution without awareness. So awareness was number one. We needed to get known.
You've done some pretty interesting things. So I almost want to go under the hood for a second on Liquid Death. So I was trying to work out, because I'm trying to sort of, backfit of how the company's been so successful, right? And over $1 billion valuation and hundreds of millions of dollars of sales every year at this point. For a 4 or 5 year old company, this is pretty damn impressive. You did some really interesting deals. So why don't you stack rank? So here's my little analysis, right? Okay. There is the top of the funnel, high awareness, the stunts and the amazing creativity that we've already talked about, right? Second, you did an exclusive deal with Live Nation where you gave Live Nation equity, not just money. You gave them equity in the whole company. They made you the exclusive partner. So that's the second one. Third one, I saw you got Shaun White, the snowboarder. You've got Wiz Khalifa. You've got Neil Brennan, the comedian. You've got rock bands and heavy metal bands, all with equity in the company. So these sort of non-traditional partnerships, and you're a health food company, and you have sustainable, no plastic bottles, it's all canned. So I was trying to work out what is the balance between those 3 or 4 things in terms of actually being the unlock for the business.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think a big unlock for us in the early days, I think it depends on what stage we're at. The first big unlock was really definitely Live Nation, because Live Nation got our cans at every single festivals and venues. And so now people were starting drinking and carrying the can everywhere during those concerts and taking pictures, and it was finding itself on social, and people were drinking. It's like, what is this, right? People expecting beer, they're drinking, it's water. It makes people talk a lot. That was a big thing, and people were remembering the brand attached to moments, right? It was a concert, it was a memory. And that was extremely, extremely strong. So for us, that was a big moment. And definitely, I would say number one, probably as we started to scale. The second one, definitely our partnership with the celebrities was big, because when you bring them with equity like that, they have a vested interest, and you don't have to ask them to create content. They will create content when they want to create content. You bring Wiz Khalifa, like he's always carrying a can everywhere. Tony Hawk, the same. So now you're starting to have true, authentic creator celebrity content rather than bring a celebrity, again, putting a creative riff in front of them, trying to get a 30 seconds, and nobody really cares, right? So for us, that was another very, very important piece of the puzzle as we started to get going.
And then mums are buying this product because it's healthy. And you still claim to this day you're a health food, a health product, right?
That's the platform. It's an healthy beverage. Like that's always what we do when we create a beverage.
Liquid Death has gone its own way. It's done different things. Challenger brand. It's a new brand. Are there some lessons here in terms of what you've been doing in these partnerships, in these creative relationships, in getting people on your side that other brands can learn from as well?
Yeah, I think for us is not be afraid of doing something that you don't want to do. I think that carries a lot of weight across all the partnership. And I think also is what I've been impressed by the creative team and what we've done is stick with your lane. Don't adjust based on the feedback that you have out there. Mike is really good at pointing out always this 99-1 rule, meaning like if you pay attention to the 1% that comments on social media, you do it wrong. Because that 1% is not the 99% that consume the content and understand the brand. And a lot of brands pay attention to the 1%.
I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's just go back, because you said something earlier which sort of tickled my brain. You don't have a brief, you don't do briefs. So this is, sacrilege inside of the marketing community. We're here at Cannes where it's all about the brief. So how do you not have a brief ever?
We don't have a brief saying, hey, we have this idea. We should go to promote tea and we should think about doing that in the south of France. We don't do that because we think that limits creativity. Again, brief is made by marketers who are the least creative person on planet Earth. So that's why we don't want that. That's why the ideas have to come from the comedians. And the comedians don't do briefs. If you put a brief in front of a comedian, he's going to be like, what are you talking about? So that's why for us, it makes no sense to have a brief. It's going to not getting to where we want to be in terms of, the output.
So a lot of challenges for brands, we've experienced this ourselves, is ceding control of your brand into creator community, into out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to have tight control of your brand. And actually, that doesn't seem to be the way the world works nowadays. But we produce brand guidelines. We produce things which basically help our creators and partners know who we're all about. Do you do the same as well?
No, we don't have brand guidelines. We don't have a brand book.
Okay, so mind blown. so you have no brand guidelines, no brand book.
We don't have a brand book. We don't have brand guidelines. And our partners all the time are asking us, can we get your brand guidelines or brand books? Like, no, we don't have one. If you want us to do something, we will create it. So you don't need to do it. And by the way, the team that has been created has been the same team for the last 5 years, right? So if a partner wants to leverage us, we'll give you our logos, but we won't let you touch the brand. We will create. Now, if you want to use our name, you can use our name, but we won't co-post with you. We won't be part of this. You will just do what you want to do, but we won't be associated with it. Same with creators. If we let creators create content, it's not on our profile. It's not on our handle. You do whatever you want. Like, we let you do whatever you want, because that's how authenticity really happens, by letting them do whatever they want to do. Now, if it's our content on our handle, on our spots on TV, now we control the whole thing. And we don't have an agency doing it. It's all internally.
You do everything internal, right? So
everything.
I'm kind of interested in when you hire people, right? You hire people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not pulling from marketing organizations. I would imagine you would find marketers who had careers being compliant and sort of brand safe harder to work with. Is that true?
On the creative side, there's no, we don't bring any of those people. It's like I said, again, it's mostly comedians or producers. So people that have produced not only, comedy, but produce a lot of different things, a lot of different verticals. Now on other side of my team, which is the media team, we bring industry people that have a lot of experience buying media. But again, on the media side, I'm not using any agencies as well. I'm like doing it all internally.
Okay. What's the number one thing you look for in an interview? And just for everyone who wants to join Liquid Death, what do they need to know right now? They're interviewing with you. What do you look for?
For me, it's the startup mentality. Like, we need that stuff, like the red tape, the slow, the process, like I need someone that can just be in there, that can be strategic, but can be in the weeds at the same time. I don't want managers that push paper. I need people that can be thinking and can do.
So your career, thinking and doing, non-traditional, you don't have a classic marketing background. You're a builder, a technologist, and sort of an engineer. Tell us a little bit about that career and what you've learned from that and is now applicable today as a marketer.
Yeah, I build a lot of ad tech products, so very product mindset, but also engineers, so coding and the whole stack. So for me, where it helped me is problem solving, right? And I built that tech because I was trying to solve problems. And for me, the problem was getting in front of an audience. It was acquiring consumers, and that's why I built ad tech products. I think what it helped me is approaching anything that we do to scale by solving problems that are in the way to get to scale.
I'm going to get one more like slightly technical and nerdy question here.
Yeah.
Talk about the metrics you look at. You launch an idea, people start texting your phone. That's a signal whether it's blowing up. But what are the actual business signals? The signals that actually matter for when you go speak with Walmart or Target or you're bored of what's working and go under the hood a little.
Yeah. The number one metric that we look is called velocity, which is the dollars per store per week. There's nothing more important than that. And so everything that we do has to impact that metric. And if the dollars per store per week don't increase, something that we're doing is not working, or there's a delay that is longer than we expected, which I'm explaining the delay because if you start running upper funnel campaigns, awareness campaign, there may be a delay until it impacts the sales in the store. But if we start running more like lower funnel campaigns, I need to see those dollars to move. Because if I'm just living in my own little bubble and I think the campaign is doing great, I see metrics like engagement, conversion rates that seem to be strong, but the dollars per store per week don't go up. That means that there's zero incrementality. That means that those sales would have happened no matter what. So we build internally some testing methodology to measure incrementality.
So this is Frontier CMO. What are the skills and lessons from this sort of builder mentality, startup mentality you think are applicable to CMOs today in marketing?
As a CMO, you have to get your hands dirty. You have to. You cannot just be at conference talking to people about the next deal. You have to understand how the campaigns are running. You have to understand how much you're spending. You have to understand what is converting, what is not converting. You cannot let 2-3 level down to understand that for you. You have to be in there.
You're a relatively small company in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, yeah.
If you're the CMO of P&G, right? Hundreds of billion-dollar brands. Is that possible?
It is. I mean, think about it at a different scale. If you're a CMO of P&G, you have to be in those high sphere and understand big strategy, but you have also to start getting in once a day, once a week in very specifics so you can have a sense of what's working, what's not working. If not, you're in your bubble. Like when I hear CMO that don't even spend time on social media to understand what's working, what's not working, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's actually very refreshing to hear that. You've got to know the business inside and out. You've got to be focused where the customer is at, and you've got to be focused on the. As an example of this, you talked about mums buying your Liquid Death products for their kids, right?
Yep.
Kids go to the Live Nation show, the mums end up buying the product. What are one of the big unlocks in activating like the mums audience or the people actually purchasing for the household versus the kids who actually most of the content is made for?
So two big things. First, distribution. Getting in the store where they shop. And for us, that was getting into the Walmart and Target of the world, right? Especially, let's talk about Target. Target really targets the busy families. The mom are there. That was a big thing to be on the shelf there. Now the mom hear from the kid, but then we're only available at 7-Eleven. They couldn't find it. They don't buy it. Now they are on the shelf at Target, at Walmart. They see it, they buy it. So distribution was a big thing. The second big thing was a campaign that was targeting the moms, right? Because before we were not necessarily talking to the mom through our campaigns. Now we do. Like the biggest one last year, we did a big campaign with Kylie Kelsey, which is like that perfect mom. She's very authentic. She was pregnant. That got us in front of a lot of moms, right? Now we're doing also running a lot of UGC campaigns with a lot of moms. So it is that combination of distribution, which was, I think, the most important thing first in that case, and then getting right in front of them.
Okay. I'm hearing fundamentals of marketing underneath. Out of the chaos is actually there's clarity and focus for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the playbook you've built and developed, your career with Liquid Death. If you left the company tomorrow, right, and you were made the CMO of Goldman Sachs, right? Very, very different category.
Yep.
What are the lessons, what are the playbooks from Liquid Death that could be applied to someone like Goldman Sachs, a much more conservative and staid banking organization?
I think the thing that carry through, well, first, the story. You have to have a story, and you have to have this story very specific and stick with it. The second thing is, how do you carry that story all the way to getting people to interact and do business with you? And I think that's things that we learn at Liquid Death is how do we turn the awareness into consumption? And that would be the same thing for Goldman Sachs is how do we get from people seeing you at a golf tournament to now deciding that they should be banking with you? Right. And that's, I don't know if it happens right now. I don't know if I'm a target for Goldman Sachs. I may be, but I don't see it.
It's very easy to get distracted by the stunts and the creativity, and actually the method in the madness, right, is actually very clear for you guys. You know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
We are. And right now we are also at this pivotal moment where we have massive awareness, but the sales are not at the level of the awareness. And I think that's, the normal journey of a brand. And now we're thinking about this chaos that we created. How do we turn that into more sales, even more sales? And so that's what I think from now, from a marketing standpoint, is how do we nail our mid funnel? And that's where I'm spending a lot of time from tech, from strategy, from dollars allocation. How do I nail that piece?
So I want to talk about AI, but it's connected to the mid funnel.
Okay, let's do this.
One of the benefits of AI is speed. Right? It can speed things up. And it seems like for Liquid Death, speed, virality, being in culture seems very important. You've been pretty anti-AI, I've seen publicly. And every CMO this week here at Cannes is going to talk about how they're generating 10,000 assets and letting the algorithm decide and handing their brand over. You don't do that. Don't believe in it.
Don't believe in it. I believe in AI. I don't believe in AI to create 1,000 different creatives to hope that one will stick. I think a creative, you have to believe in what you're creating, and you have to stick with it the way we're doing it. Now, I believe AI allows to build a crazy amount of tools to be super efficient post-creatives. How do you allocate your dollars? How do you get the most incrementality? Or even if you go from a consumer standpoint, how do you feed the LLM so discovery happens? If you go on Gemini, if you ask, hey, I'm on GLP-1, what should I drink? I want to show up. How do I show up? So I think about that all the time. And I think that's a piece of AI for CPG is how do you show up during discovery? As a brand, this is a challenge because those models are not very transparent about how they capture that data. And remember, those signals that fills the LLMs are coming from the retailers, are coming from me, are coming from who else that I don't know of. So how do I impact this?
I gotcha. But ultimately, AI having the soul of your brand, never going to
No.
happen.
You never can say never, but today, no.
Okay. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's something the industry is sort of still wrestling with.
Mhm.
I find it interesting when I pre-train LLMs on Google Marketing's what's worked, what hasn't worked. It can help set the table, as it were, but it can't serve the right food at this point, not yet.
I agree. I completely agree.
Let's go back to early in the days of Liquid Death. You guys mocked mercilessly, cruelly, meanly, even the whole energy drink category.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years later, you come out with an energy drink. So I'm just wondering, what were the debates? Did you have debates inside the company about that transition from, hey, we're liquid water, and now we're Liquid Death water. Now we're doing it flavored in energy drinks.
Yeah. We wrestled. We wanted energy category is a massive category.
Yeah.
So you want to be in it, but we couldn't find ourselves to be in it if we couldn't be healthy. All the energy categories, all the energy drinks in the category were not healthy. Now we start seeing some that were marketing themselves as healthy. So we were seeing that there was a need for an healthy energy, for a better for you energy. But again, the ingredients were not right. So we started looking, can we do it? And that was a challenge. If we cannot do it, we'll never enter it, even if it was going to be a big category that we're going to miss. We found a way to make it healthy by first lowering the level of caffeine and realizing there was an audience for that, and then putting the right ingredients in and still tastes good. So that's how we decided, is like, hey, if we can make it healthy, then we are going in. And we did.
So who haven't you worked with yet that you want to do a deal with?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I think, and we're talking about it, we're looking at how can we get into space. So
space, as in outer space.
Out of space.
So that, I mean, that's NASA or Elon, right?
Correct.
So it's one
like,
of the
can
two.
we do that?
Okay.
So we're thinking about this. We have different talks going.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I think that there might be a space in luxury. Like I don't know what an Hermes Liquid Death partnership would look like, but that, isn't one of the things if
that could be super interesting too.
You said it, and say the correct quote, but I've heard that if you expect us to do it, we're not going to do it, or something, right?
That's exactly right. If you expect us to do it, we should not do it.
Okay, so by me even saying Hermes / Liquid Death, that means that's killed the whole idea, right?
Probably by saying it, now it's too late.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to find someone else.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry to your miss.
Final sort of thought here. I'm jealous of what you've been doing, but is there a finite runway for shock, for drama? How do you stay on this sort of meteoric growth and growth and growth? And can shock value or stunt value run out?
I mean, that's the risk. We always think about this, but I think creativity around comedy has been around forever, right? People have been funny forever. So I don't think it runs out of steam. I think maybe the way we are doing the content, the type of content we're putting out there may be different. The length of the content, who is in the content, maybe. But will it still be funny? Will it still be shocking? I think so. And I don't think it will run out of steam.
Okay.
I think for me, where it's going to be more challenging is how we get from 10% household penetration to 40% household penetration. You need to carry a message that works for everybody. That's where it becomes very challenging.
Right.
So to be like being funny for more people, I think is a challenge more than being a Gen Z art brand and now being a millennial brand.
I gotcha. You just added some more responsibilities inside the company. So you have a long fancy title, but now you're something else as well, right? So
I was all media and marketing, and now I'm digital commerce.
Okay. We should talk about that because that's a statement of intent inside the company. What does digital commerce mean to you, and where is this all going? Because we're all digital commerce nowadays.
Yeah, for me and for the company, it means that there's a lot of focus now on people buying online. And we are not selling on our website, we're selling through the retailers, but we're seeing the percentage of sales through the retailers increasing really fast, like extremely fast. And how do you impact sales on digital? When you're in a store, it's mostly through the end caps, through all the displays. How do you create displays and end caps on digital? Through media, through marketing. So digital commerce being owned by media makes a lot of sense. The fact that it comes under me now shows that we are going to push really hard in that area.
There's a lot of science in this space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine your engineering background lends to that. What are the 2 or 3 things that us marketers really need to think about and understand as you see it in terms of growing that in that space?
Identity graph, audience, key. The word of cookies, all of that is gone. But there is between TV, linear TV, CTV, social, retail media, all of this can be connected. It has to be connected through tech. It has to be connected through identity. That's how we need to figure it out. And that's how CMOs should think of. I'm spending a lot of time building internally around this. And I think that's what will enable massive digital commerce growth.
The outsourcing of your tech has generally been something that large corporations done on the marketing side. Do you think that should be coming in-house for the most part?
I want to. That's what I'm doing. Now we are a CPG brand, so it's not that easy to hire engineers.
Yeah.
So I have to rely on some partners sometimes, just, island of engineers that I can bring in to do that. I'm lucky enough that I've built for the last 20 years, so I can find those people. I want to keep it in-house. I think I will keep it in-house. I don't think it's easy for other CPG brands to do.
Okay. How are your agent coding skills?
I'm getting pretty good at this.
Yeah?
I love it.
What is the last agent you built for yourself?
For me right now, I build my own, what I call comment center on cloud, where I monitor all my main KPIs and also all the tasks for all my team members.
Okay. I'm sure they're thrilled by that.
I think so too.
This is good. Benoit, I'm going to ask you a couple of final questions. Thank you so much for being on the pod. This is our signal and noise section.
Yep.
I'm going to ask this as a signal or noise, and then you're going to give me a yes, no, and a little sentence or two.
Okay.
Right. Signal or noise. Shock value has a finite runway.
Noise. It will always be funny. Funny will be funny.
Funny will be funny. Okay, yeah, let's laugh. Ha ha ha. Signal or noise. Every brand needs to be a media company nowadays.
Noise. You need to be able to create content. You don't have to be a media company, but you need to be good at creating content.
Okay. What happens if you have to be a media company mindset in terms of just producing that content? What makes you a media company?
The marketing team, yes, not the whole company.
Okay. Makes sense. Signal or noise. Humor is an inside job within companies.
Signal. It has to be inside. It has to be within the DNA of the company.
Okay. Signal or noise. Distribution is more important than upper funnel awareness.
Signal. It's very, very important. Now, what comes first is the big thing, but distribution is so key. And proper execution on distribution is even more challenging.
All right. Benoit, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye. Before we wrap, I want to leave you with 3 takeaways. Think of these as your field notes from the frontier. First, there's method in the madness. Liquid Death might look unhinged from the outside, but under the skulls and the satire, it's a tight system and process grounded in classic marketing fundamentals. This isn't chaos for chaos's sake. It's focused discipline that's packaged up and sold. Second, creativity is the real product. Being here at Cannes is a good reminder that creativity can come from anywhere, but it only lives if you protect it. The real magic of Liquid Death isn't just the wild ideas. It's that the team believes in them enough to keep them alive inside the machine. They let the weird, sharp, and uncomfortable stuff see daylight. The question for you is, what ideas are you letting die too early inside your company? Third, engagement equals sales. For years, we've argued about whether the likes and comments actually move product. Liquid Death has shown us that if you're bold enough, extreme engagement can pour straight into revenue. That's not just entertainment, that's a business model. So maybe that's the real through line from today's conversation. The tools change, the timelines get faster, but the brands that win are the ones that are brave enough to back big, risky ideas. That's the work at the frontier. Be sure to follow, rate, and review Frontier CMO on YouTube or wherever you get your shows. Thank you for joining us. For research, case studies, and tools to help you lead through this next platform shift, visit thinkwithgoogle.com, where we track the signals, cut through the noise, and share what leaders are actually testing in real time. We'll be back next episode with another leader operating at the frontier. Until then, stay sharp and stay out front.